In this lesson, we're going to start working with the tones, and in this case, I'm going to start with balancing the tones between shadows and highlights. To do this, I'm going to do very selective masks for myself to make sure that the range of the highlights and shadows is exactly as I wanted. First of all, I'm going to create two color balance layers. First one will be for shadows, and the other we can just copy Ctrl or Command and J for highlights. Remember to make them into color if you use color balance. I'm reminding you this, and of course, no matter what you will use, if it's color balance or curves or anything else, work with the blending mode color. So to do my coloring on my adjustment layers, no matter which one you're using, I'm going to set the range of the shadows and highlights. And I'm going to do this through color range, which is very good according to my opinion, of course. For studio images, you can get a very selective range, and as you can see, I'm going quite wide with this. I want to have quite one wide range of the highlights to not make shadows really too strong. So around that, I can see quite smooth transitions. So I would go with this. I'm going to hit OK. So that will be for shadows. So I'm going to invert this. And also I'm going to copy this. So Command or Control and hit, and apply inverted mask into the highlights. What I will do with the shadows, it's very easy to predict. Like, we can have a look at the image, and for shadows we can see that the colors that are dominating the image are blue. So I'm going to shadows and I'm going to increase the range of the blue. It's quite high, even around up to 20. You could do the same using different tool, and I will try to show you this. For example, if we would be using something different than color balance, that could be curves, and same way I could try to go with blue. As you can see, the result is maybe similar, just a little bit different, because from what I can see, I affecting more the model itself, which I actually like the effect as well. It's cooling the image. So as you can see, there is many different ways you can also do this, whether it's curves, whether it's color balance. I could do with something more. You're gonna probably photo filter and choose the color I'm looking for. As you can see, many different ways. Outcome is slightly different in this case for the highlights, especially about photo filter, but manipulating whether it's curves or color balance, the outcome of your results will be very similar. I like color balance because I have something more. I can see the colors. I can work at the same point with blues and cyans, and selectively for the shadows. That's why it doesn't affect the highlights as much as the curves was. So that's why I'm choosing color balance, because once I choose the range for the shadows, and two, I also affecting only shadows, making sure that it's the shadows in the shadow tone. So I'm thinking around this would be okay. For the shadows, I'm going to switch into highlights, and the same, you can use any tool you want. And for the highlights, I'm going to bring up some of the yellows for the highlights. I'm not going to go with reds because it will give me not really nice result, as well as the cyans. I don't want it because it will give me sort of green light on the floor. So I would prefer to work with highlights in maybe a little bit different way. Let's put this to the group, and I'm going to call this as a tones. So simple, very simple grading over here, very simple adjustment layer, and the outcome is quite serious. We had a little gray. At first, probably after raw conversion, it looked like it's strong blue, but it was still gray. And now the image is really punching you with the blue color, something I was looking for.